Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Reclaim Your Throne. I am your host, Nadaya Rose. And if you are joining us, just take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. Just calling all your energy back. Any energy that's not yours, go back to where you came from. And just calling all your energy back to this moment, to this time, and to this space. And if you're watching this on video, we just saged, and I am using a joint clip to hold the sage so that I don't burn my fingers and so that I can just take a little piece of sage off so I don't have to burn the entire bundle. And let's begin. So today I want to talk about cord cutting. And why I want to talk about cord cutting is because it has been a very pivotal and very transformational practice of mine that I do when I'm wanting to release and when I'm wanting to let go of anyone and anything that is no longer serving me. And so let's begin. So, what is cord cutting? Because I know some of you guys are asking, like, what are you talking about? And what are the cords? What is the purpose of having to cut cords? And so, when you are with someone, especially if you're intimate with someone, you have these energy cords tethered to you and that person, especially if you've been inside of them or they have been inside of you. So we need to cut them and release them when they are no longer serving us. And when we break up with someone or when we need to just call back our energy. Um, yeah, and it's really useful to use cord cutting also with yourself as we all grow and we begin to shift. We become these new aspects of ourselves. We become new versions of ourselves. And so it's good to release the old. And the way I even found out and kind of figured out how to do a cord cutting ritual was I was doing these meditations and I was wanting to release an ex-lover of mine that was consistently in my head and I would think about them and I was just getting annoyed that I was still thinking about them. And so I found this cord cutting ceremony on YouTube and I did it. And then I just kind of waited a week and I was like, I'm still feeling their energy. Like I feel like this didn't do anything. And even though my intention was strong, it still really didn't do anything. And so then I looked up on YouTube again, cord cutting, and I didn't put meditation or like a little confirmation burp. I didn't put meditation or anything like that. I just put cord cutting. And next thing you know, I'm seeing this video or reel, if you will, of these two candles. And there's a cord or there's a piece of string in between them. And the candles are burning. Oh, bless me. The candles are burning and they're just letting go. They're letting go of the energy. And I was like, wow. I need to do this. And so I went to the store. I went and bought black candles, specifically black candles because it clears any negative dark energy, and just really good for absorbing that. So yeah, so I went and bought the candles. I wrote the name of the person and then I wrote my name and I did the whole ceremony and I let them go and lo and behold, it worked. And I was like, wow, like I feel good. Like I feel like my energy is returning. I'm not thinking about them. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And it's the power of fire. It's the power of your willpower and the power of your intention. And so yeah, I've just been doing cord cutting ceremony probably for like 4 years now, and it has been just profound. I've witnessed the cord cutting like in real life, like real time, like actually happening with people, and especially with ex-lovers. I actually had this past relationship of mine. I had sent him a video of the cord cutting and we were on good terms, so it wasn't like I was doing it like in spite or anything. I just sent it to him. I forget why even sent it to him, but I sent it to him regardless. And didn't hear like I think he was like, "Aho, like congratulate, like good for you. Like I'm glad you're having a or have a good ceremony," something like that. And then I had the ceremony, and then next thing you know, I see him in the sauna, like maybe a few days after or something like that. And Normally, the tension between us, the sexual tension was very high and it was very intense and it was a lot. And this time, being in the sauna, I felt nothing. And I could kind of like see these like entities or beings try to attach us, like try to attach the cords to us again. And I was like, no, like, no, I like said no in my mind. And I was like, no, like, I know what I deserve. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I want. And we're not a match. And I'm not even kidding when I say this. The next thing he says, right after I was like, no, he goes, wow, that cord cutting ceremony really worked. And I was like, oh, I was like, what? I was like, yeah, it did. Oh my gosh. This is wild. Like, did he just read my mind? Um, but yeah, I got to witness it and I got to just feel that. And another powerful ceremony that a couple ceremonies that I've had with cord cutting specifically was with myself and with the old version of myself. And my legal name is not actually Nadaya. It eventually will be soon because I'm gonna legally change it to Nadaya. But my birth name was Lindsay. And the whole story around that, we'll get into that, is I was at a mushroom. Sarah, I took mushrooms at a ecstatic dance, and we were happened to be on the beach, and it was a also with my ex narcissist teacher roommate that I was living with that I had to do an insane amount of cord cutting ceremonies with her. Because I think the more in depth the relationship is, or intense the relation and the stronger karmic bonds there are, I'm pretty sure you have to do a couple ceremonies. I had to do like four with her. So anyways, I was on the beach and I was in the water, and next thing you know, I'm doing this like intense breath work, and the mushrooms had already been way hitting at this point, and I'm seeing Narasimba come to me. And Narasimba is a half man, half lion. He's a half man, half lion, created by Vishnu to overcome some other bad guy in the story. I forget the entire story, but it was the whole thing. And he Narasimha came and he took his lion claws and he like ripped out my chest pretty much. And I just felt him. And it was like he was like ate me pretty much. And I was like, whoa. And mind you, this was on 555 in 2022. And it also was a new moon. And we had just had a lunar eclipse. So the energy was intense and it was very potent. And so I had that experience. And next thing you know, I wake up the next morning. I go to bed, I go home, I go to bed, and I wake up the next morning and it was like I had never been in my room. It was like I'm seeing my room for the first time ever. And then I go outside and it was like I had never seen trees before. I was like, oh my God, these things are amazing. And it's not like I didn't remember what they were, it just felt energetically like they were so new to me. And I was so confused for a while, like a few days. I was like, what is going on? And I couldn't find the answers. And so I just prayed. I was like, God, spirit guide, spirit team, what is going on? Like, send me the answers that I'm looking for because I have no idea what's going on and I'm really freaking confused. And so I get the message. The message is sent, and God delivered. I found a YouTube video, and it was about soul drop-ins. And I clicked it, and I watched it, and I was blown away. I said, "Oh my God, this is what happened to me." And what happens is when your soul has completed, there's three different types of soul drop-ins, but this was mine. This was the one that I had. So when a soul has come to completion with their karmic contracts, they basically leave. They leave and then a new one comes in to fulfill different contracts and different lessons and everything like that. And so I had an insane ego death. Like I had an insane ego death, soul death. And everyone around me was still calling me Lindsay, of course, because that was my name. That's what I was going by because that was what I was born with. And I would just like cringe every time they called me that. I was like, what? Like, no, that's not my name. And it just didn't sound right. And for the longest time, I was just like, this doesn't feel right. And so for a couple weeks, I was just asking God, I was like, what is my name? What is my new soul's name? And eventually I got tired of waiting. Um, and I was at my altar one night and I had the candles lit and everything. And I get so close to the mirror and I put my hands on the ground and I'm like, what is my name? Staring at the mirror, like so close that I can see just God pretty much. And all of a sudden I get this like I sit right back up and I get this drop in and I spoke, but it wasn't me speaking, if that makes sense. Like it was God like using me as a microphone pretty much. And I got this whole channel just open and it was like Nadaya. And my whole body was like shivering when I said my name out loud and I was like, whoa. And it reverberated like when I said it, it reverberated. So the na like vibrated in my head. The da, the daya, the day vibrated in my chest, and then the ya vibrated in my stomach and my womb. And so it went down my whole body, like each syllable, na, day, ya. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. And how I chose rose was because I had always had a connection with the rose, and especially because I was doing so much sexual healing that I was just in my own rose initiation. And I also got roses tattooed on my shoulder, on my back, the back of my shoulder, um, back in like 2019 or 2018 or something like that. So I've always just been connected with the roses, and I just love them and just love what they represent. And then later in a Wachuma ceremony, it would actually come to me that the symbolism of my name like appeared in so many different layers throughout my journey, through ayahuasca ceremonies, through Wachuma ceremonies. And I just was sitting there at the as the fire ended or the fire I think was out and the what was left in the fire design in the Wachuma ceremony was the phoenix. It was the rising phoenix. And I just sat there at the opening of the opening of the fire and I just was sitting there with my hands open and it was a really hard journey. It was a really hard ceremony. And I was like, wow, Nadaya rose. And I rose, like, as in, like, past tense of rise. And, or that's not the past, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, I rose to the occasion pretty much. And by golly, I did. Oh my gosh. Like, wow. Oh my goodness. And I now, every time I think about my name, like Nadea Rose, I think about that ceremony and I think about just everything that I've accomplished and everything that I've done and the version that I am now versus the version that I started with, the little girl who was broken inside and just wanting to feel love and wanting to love herself and wanting to heal from her grandfather molesting her. And so, I had to do cord cutting with the past version of myself. I had to do cord cutting with the different names that I had gone by. And each one so powerful because every time that um, my name, when I changed my name from Nadea, and the spelling wasn't the same the first time. The first time it was Nadeiya. And when I did that first cord cutting with her, that was a whole initiation with Nadea and Lindsay. And then when I got my new spelling, that was in an ayahuasca ceremony. When I was looking, I think, I forget when that was probably like 2024, 2024. I was looking at a star and I just remember saying my name out loud, Nadaya, and I was just giddy and I was laughing. And all of a sudden, the star is just like beaming at me, and just I am just so bright. And it's like I'm just talking to the star. And it was communicating to me, Nadaya, and it translated as the day one. And now every time I look at the stars or every time I look at the sun, I'm reminded of the sun that is within me, the day, like the day one, the bright one. And I was like, oh my God, like, wow. And I'm just over here meant to shine my light, just meant to be a freaking lighthouse for the ones in the darkness. Come this way, shining my way. And so now every time I say my name or anyone says my name, I'm like, I get reminded, like it's an actual reminder of my ceremonies or my journeys and just the journey of getting to Nadaya Rose. And so it's been a beautiful journey, but I've had to cut some cords. Like I've had to cut the cords to the old versions of myself. And without this cord cutting, like I can't tell you how powerful and profound that these ceremonies that I do are because they are physically cutting the cord. Like you can see the actual string attached to the candles being cut and being severed, let alone if you add different elements, if you add herbs, if you add a rim of salt, a barrier of salt around the candles to protect the energy and to contain it. If you add different spices, if you add your menstrual blood for my ladies out there, because that is just pure liquid magic. Oh my gosh. And when I ever, any time that I have ever added my menstrual blood to a ceremony, it has been like tenfold expansive. Like just everything is more solidified. And that was yeah. And that was one of the ones that I did with my past narcissistic roommate that I lived with, that I had to do multiple cord cutting ceremonies with. The very last one that I ever will do with her, because I never have to do one ever again after that. Um, I ended up having to do like four different ceremonies with her, but the fourth one, I think it may have been four or five. But anyways, the last one I uh did this salt barrier, and then I actually ground up a piece of charcoal from an ayahuasca ceremony that I had that was just another profound. That was the last time I actually sat with ayahuasca, and that was earlier this year, back in like May. No, not back in May. I think it was last year. I think it was last year. But I haven't sat with ayahuasca since then, and that was a profound one, and that knocked me off my boots. I will say that. So I saved some charcoal from the fire, and that was a ceremony I also actually fire tended for. And that was the first time I ever fire tended for an ayahuasca ceremony, and it was a master Taita. Like this guy is so world renowned, and it was just such a privilege and honor, and like beyond grateful that I got to tend the fire for him and just help with smudging and just yeah, I was blown away that I got to do that. And I got to drum in the ayahuasca ceremony too, which was also profound. Everything. That was just was a profound ceremony. So of course, your girl saved a piece of charcoal from the fire. So I ground that piece of charcoal up with my mortar and pestle, and I just sprinkled it around with the salt barrier so that it becomes black salt, so that it's even like more potent for absorbing the negative energy. And this was like right after she publicly attacked me on social media. Like she like blasted me, telling like the world that I was like this dark being sucking everyone's light or something like that. And like put me on blast. Like this post had like hundreds of comments from different community members, and I was like literally being spiritually attacked. And so I did this cord cutting ceremony, and it was so profound because I put all the black salt, I put the black salt, and then I went into the fridge, and I had been saving my menstrual blood from like multiple different cycles. And I was like, we're using all of this. And I just put some in the north, the east, and the south and the west on the candles, around the candles. And that was the first time I think I actually used my menstrual blood for cord cutting, and I saw how potent and how powerful it is when you actually put the physical shedding, like put the manifestation of shedding, which is a woman's bleed, into the ceremony of cutting cords, like game over. Game over. And so I burned my intention. I burned the ceremony, the candle, that candle in that ceremony. Like I remember her candle, her entire candle. I've never had this happen. I even took a video of it because I was like, this is insane. Like, I don't know if anyone's gonna believe me. Like the entire candle caught on fire. I was like, whoa. Oh my gosh, it was wild. And that's another thing too. Like the candles will speak, like the candles will talk, and um they'll talk. You can, depending on what happens with the whatever one cuts the cord, or like the energy cuts the cord and like starts the flame. And it's very interesting, like the whole ceremony itself. And oftentimes too, I will sit with repe, which is sacred tobacco snuff, that's really used for clearing and detoxing the body and just clearing out negative energy and just um, grounding and centering and just so many other things. But that usually adds to the potency as well. But yeah, I just, every time I've done a cord cutting ceremony, I have been blown away. And the reason why I wanted to come on here and share about it is because last night I actually had a profound realization because I went to every Wednesday, a dear brother of mine, Chris. His name's Chris, but he goes by Pale Horse. And he does Wednesday meditations he's a disciple of Yogananda, which are profound. Like they are so profound. And I happened to go to the one last night, and I hadn't been to his meditation since like back in May. And that was after I did it. May was the time that I did an exorcism, had an exorcism, and that's a whole nother podcast episode about the exorcism. But yeah, that was back in May. So I got to see going to the meditation, I got to see how much I've changed and I was like, wow, you're crushing it. Like you're doing so well. And I was just blown away and I was blown away at the actual meditation itself, like what I had experienced and just what had happened. And it was just a long answered prayer. And another answered prayer was I've been working with this Archangel Michael initiation for 9 weeks. And 9 weeks, you pray to Archangel Michael every Tuesday. And there's this specific prayer that you say out loud. And then anything will come true, like anything that you pray for. And I tell you that everything's been coming true so far. And one of the prayers that I wanted to come true was that I'd prayed for was my teacher. I wanted to find my lineage, my teacher that I am meant to work with on this path. Like I wanted to find my teacher because I wanted to find my guru. And lo and behold, Yogananda. And I had known nothing about Yogananda. And I was just asking him, I was asking Chris, my brother, like so many questions. And he was just answering every single one so gracefully and so beautifully and elegantly. And I was like, wow. And all the wisdom from Yogananda. And so I was asking him about Yogananda's journey, and he suggested reading the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda. And so I went home that night and I found the podcast or I found the audiobook on Spotify and it was the 1946 one, the original one. Don't read the one that they like adjusted because no, don't do that. Read the original one, 1946, autobiography of a yogi. And I read the first chapter or I listened to the first chapter and I was blown away. I was blown away. It was like he was speaking to my soul. And at the very end, he talked about this kite. He was on the roof with his sister, and his kite like separated, or the cord got cut, or something like that. And the kite ended up landing on a dead body. And they're in India, so like dead bodies are kind of normal to have because they have open burials and places to put the dead bodies. And so the sister freaked out, like she ran away. And then Yogananda actually found it fascinating, like found that was his first glimpse of death. And that was his first experience with the duality of life, like life and death. And so next thing you know, I'm getting this like huge download. My whole body is like, wow, I'm about to cut. And I have I put my cord cutting candles that I'm about to do. My next cord cutting ceremony is literally about to be on the new moon in Scorpio. And it is going to be, and I have even the cords, like I have the candles written out. Like I'm going to be releasing my grandfather, the one who molested me. And I realized I'd never done a legitimate cord cutting ceremony with him. And I'm like, oh my God. But I also wasn't ready to actually let him go. Like I had to go through this whole journey to be able to let him go because I had to. Like I wasn't ready yet. And so now I am. Now I'm ready to become Nadaya, like full out blown Nadaya Rose. And on the candle, I wrote Lindsay and I wrote Nadaya. And then I turned that other candle and I wrote Grandpa and I wrote Lindsay. And so on one candle, it says the names Lindsay and Grandpa. And then on the other candle, it says Lindsay and Nadaya. And I was like, wow, oh my God. It's like I'm releasing I'm releasing the full blown old chapter of Lindsay and of my grandpa and the story along with it. And then because I wrote Lindsay on the Nadaya candle too, it's like I'm taking with me my inner child to experience all the love, all the blessings, all the happiness that and the joy that she didn't get to experience because she was molested and she was holding all this drama. So now I get to cut this cord once and for all. And then Scorpio new moon, which is going to be so insanely potent. And I'm also going to be, I'm doing that on the 20th. And then on the 19th, I'm actually hosting a tobacco ceremony, which is going to be even more profound. We're weaving through the different forms of tobacco with mapacho, liquid tobacco, which is mapacho soaked in water. And that's honestly my favorite way of using tobacco. And it's very smooth and very balanced being with the water. And then we're also going to be using rapé, which is sacred tobacco snuff. And that is going to be in Tampa, Florida. And that's going to be on the 19th, November 19th. And it's going to be at 7 p.m., 7 to 9 p.m. And then I'm going to be playing live music as well uh, throughout the whole thing. So if you're interested, DM me. The links are in my bio as well. But yeah, I am in for quite the next week. And I just wanted to share that insane, like not insane, but pretty wild synchronicity with the Yogananda's kite flying and like his symbolism with death because my grandpa died. My grandpa was the first one that introduced me to death because he died when I was 9 and he molested me from 7 to 9. I think even earlier, but like I remember 7 years old. 7 to 9 years old. And I remember being at his funeral and I remember that being my first experience with death. And I remember not understanding what was going on really and kind of like being confused because I was so mad at him for molesting me and I was so holding so much anger and resentment and frustration and also I was happy that he was dying like that he died because he's terrified me because he had done that to me and I was just scared of him at that point. And then I was also sad because he was my grandfather and I did love him still. And I was like, what is going my little girl self was so confused and didn't know what to feel. And I remember him dying, like being dead, like I'm looking at his body, like his actual body, and being I can feel him. Like I can still feel like he's alive. Like I still feel his spirit. And that was the first experience of death I had. And then also figuring out that I can talk to dead spirits and that I can literally communicate with the dead. And I was like, because I would literally have conversations with him and he would be speaking to me. And I didn't realize that until like later on, because it was like he was a ghost like following me. And I numbed him and I shut him out with food, with binging, with overusing cannabis, with alcohol, with sex, with so many things, anything I could do to like numb my body and my mind and my emotions so that I didn't have to feel it, the pain that I was feeling. And so I, reading the Yogananda first chapter and like hearing the kite story and like seeing it as like the literal cord cutting from the kite, I was like, oh my God, I'm literally going to be doing that next week with my grandpa, who is the single-handedly like the root of all my sexual trauma and my shame around everything. And it's the new moon in Scorpio, people. The new moon in Scorpio, which rules sexuality, which rules sensuality, which rules pleasure, which rules pain, which rules death and rebirth and the body and just all of these the darkness and the hidden shadows, like all of it. And I'm literally going to be doing it on the new moon. Like you cannot make this up. And you cannot make this up that I found my lineage that I want to learn from Yogananda, and I found my teacher, and I found and happened to be right in freaking St. Pete, like my hometown. And I'm just like, this is so divine. Like all my blessings are just coming to me at this point, and I don't have to do anything. Like I do have to do something. Like I have to show up, but I'm just like, wow, wow. I'm just being blown away of the magic that has been happening, and it's all been through the cord cutting. It's been through the letting go. And I'm really, really grateful that I have this practice of mine to be able to come to and to turn to. And I hope this inspires everyone to let go of the cords, let go of the past partners, the relationships, the energy, the past people, the past versions of yourself, the past, yeah, the past beliefs, the past stories, whatever it is, like release it and let go. I hope that one day everyone's doing cord cutting ceremonies. Like, I hope that everyone has their own ceremonies and their own cord cutting to fully let go of the energy and detach for what no longer is serving us. Yeah, who knows? Maybe this will go viral so that everyone can. I also have a cord cutting ritual, how to do it, on my stand store for $22. So if you are interested in learning how to do your own cord cutting ceremony, I actually walk you through a video of how to do it and how to perform the ceremony. And then there's other documents in there as well, like different herbs and mixes and stuff to do, like to make it more potent and to just kind of amplify the energy. Like if you're cutting relationship ties and intimate ties, use rose and stuff like that. So there's a lot of goodies in there. And it's again on my stand store. The link is in my bio. And yeah, you can find me at Nadaya Rose on Instagram and on TikTok as well. And that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited to continue this podcast and see where it takes us and just begin to share all my stories because my journey has been a wild one. And I'm very excited to share all the juiciness and all of the learnings and wisdom that I've gained along the way so that it helps and inspires others to really walk this path with more ease and more grace because I stumbled and fell for you. So hopefully it makes it a little easier. And then I also do one-on-one mentorship as well, and going to be launching a group coaching program in 2026. So be on the lookout for that. And I also have other offerings as well, and in-person facilitation journeys, ceremonies as well. And so if you are interested, all the information is in my bio. And till the next episode, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Have an amazing night. Have an amazing morning whenever you're listening to this. Bye for now.